local area. And your tour guide, the one who made you laugh so much, she is one of millions of women employed in a sector leading in gender equality. Remember how you made a difference when you traveled? Remember how much your travels meant to others. Now, just think of all the good you can do in the future. Travel the world. Make a world of difference.
And a very warm welcome to this, day 2 of the virtual summit, brought to you by the ITIC, the International Tourism and Investment Conference, in partnership with Wtm-Africa, under the title of Invest, Rebuild and Restart the African Tourism Sector. I'm Rajan Datta, a broadcaster and journalist specializing in all things to do with travel and tourism, and it is my great honor to be moderating today. Now, I said yesterday, and I will say it again, if we were looking at one region of the world which holds the greatest potential and biggest opportunities in terms of tourism, it is surely the incredibly diverse and exciting continent of Africa. But the whole world is, let's face it, facing some obstacles to speedy recovery at the moment, and we will be tackling those issues today too. We have a packed agenda ahead of us with sessions looking at the economic outlook, of course, assessing the state of play of vaccines and testing and how tourism is severely dependent on the equitable and global distribution of vaccines and the need for universally agreed protocols. We'll look at how investment in Africa's tourism industry is being evaluated by the major stakeholders and players, state governments, city government, investors themselves, and by influential organizations like the Commonwealth that can help boost investment. But before we proceed, I want to get some introductory thoughts from our conference organizers. So let me turn first to Dr. Taleb Rifai, who's the chairman of ITIC and former Secretary General, if you know him, of the UNWTO. Taleb, hello.
Hello, good morning. Am I heard well? My voice is good?
Your voice is excellent, as ever. Tell me,
Thank you.
Yesterday at the ministerial panel, there was this kind of agreement that there needs to be a coming together of all the tourism ministers. Now, is this something that can happen? Do you think that the ITC can get involved in? ITIC?
Of course. It must happen. It's the only way out. We cannot work this. We cannot fix this as each individual government on its own. We have to work together, not just ministers of tourism, ministers of health, ministers of finance, ministers of transportation, wildlife. They all must come together. I think we must work together with the AU, African Union, to do it. We must do it. There's no other way. We must put all the ministers in a room and tell them you cannot leave this room until you agree. That's the way to do it.
Okay, and that's a concrete proposal to do that. You will.
That's right.
Do that. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Now, what we also heard yesterday is from some ministers in the panel was that we can't really be thinking about investment until COVID is under control, until vaccinations and testing protocol are globally agreed. Do you agree with that, or can we discuss investment now?
Depends what type of investment. Investments in tourism per se, no. Can't build more hotels now. But you can build infrastructure, period. Infrastructure to serve, not just tourism, to serve other things in life. Let's remember, in the late 20s of last century, Roosevelt embarked on the building of highways in the United States in the middle of a very deep depression. Built all the highways that today we're using, because that's what puts people to work, and you need it anyhow. So that's the kind of investment we're looking for: highways, airports. And I think Najib Balala, our Minister of Kenya, said something like that. Yesterday. I completely agree with him.
Okay. Thank you, Taleb. We're going to hear more from you throughout the day, and obviously at the end of the day as well, when we assess how the whole day went. I want to introduce Ibrahim Ayub, who is the CEO and MD of ITIC and Invest Tourism Limited. Hello, Ibrahim.
Hello, Rajan. Hello, Taleb and Carol. Nice seeing you.
Hi.
I want to ask you, what do you feel is the role of the ITIC in these testing times, Ibrahim?
Yes. First of all, I would like to, before I answer this question, I would like to say we are very proud to be working with WTN again. And that partnership of 2 years, which we have forged, is continuing very well, right? So we have a lot of good things to do in the future as well. So yes, Taleb, like Taleb, yes, Rajan and Taleb, like he rightly said, you know, it's a very challenging time at the moment, right? We passed through COVID for almost like a year now. We've been in lockdown, we open up again, we come back in lockdown, you know, like in the UK, when you take the example, we open up, then we experience the second wave, then we gone in lockdown. But now look at a great example. The UK is doing well, I would say, because we got more than over 50% of our population vaccinated, right? We got now almost like 20% of the population vaccinated with the second dose. And I think UK is going on the right track. I think that's a good example. When you look about China, also is doing well, Australia, New Zealand, but other destinations that are doing well on the vaccination or on the way they have managed the COVID. I mean, lately UK, I would say in the right track, right? And it's all going to depend on how the vaccination process goes on and how successful and the efficacy of all the vaccines which are being administered in all the different destinations. And also that the vaccine are supplied on time. Because don't forget that now we are going in Q2, right? Q2, we are still having challenging times with the variant, new variant, double variant, mutated variant. So all that is being questionable. And that is certainly going to affect investment. Like Minister of Kenya rightly said, like Taleb mentioned again, I mean, nobody's going to go and invest in hotels, in big theme parks or you know, water parks and so forth. So now it's a time to build on the infrastructure. And that's a little bit the role of ITIC, is to bring ideas, is to bring discussion, is to see how do we restart the travel and tourism sector once we are ready to restart. But we need to build, to rebuild now. We need to think now. We need to plan now, so that when we are ready to start, so then we can see all the different new projects, and especially sustainable projects. Digitalization is becoming very important throughout the whole value chain of the sector. So all that is quite important.
And tell me about the timetable of events to do with ITIC and African tourism this year, because in a way, yesterday and today was a bit of a teaser, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Because that's it. First, I mean, ITIC, I mean, since we started like 2 years ago, we started in London, then Southeast Europe, in Bulgaria. We did in last year our virtual for Middle East. But Africa is our real first, I mean, real event. We were supposed to do this live together with WTM, but unfortunately, we had to go virtual again. But we hope in September we will be physical in Cape Town, right? So Africa is very important for us, and it's a first of a series of 3 conferences we are setting up. This is a teaser. This is the time we are doing this first event, and we were going to have a second one in June and a physical one in person on the 1st to the 3rd of September in Cape Town.
Wow!
Right? Like Taleb rightly said, we will try to bring this ministerial, driving this ministerial panel with all the African ministers together in Cape Town. And all, like yesterday, we had the EU, we had the Commonwealth, we had Greece, and eventually today we will see the mayor of Malaga that would be with us. So that would like eventually to collaborate with Africa and to restart and to work with Africa. That's good news. And to tell you quickly, what we're going to do today, just after this morning conversation, we're going to have an interesting conversation with gentlemen from AFCTA, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and then we will hear from Afreximbank, because we need to see what they will say. This is going to be moderated by Rashid Toifi, who is a Deputy Director General of the Western Cape government, right? And afterwards, we are going to hear from an interesting panel on the health, right? Because without health, like we say, vaccination process, we won't be able to open up. And we would be hearing from the Minister of Côte d'Ivoire to see how he's managing in Côte d'Ivoire, and afterwards hearing from epidemiologists, some expert in the health sector, and Tom Jones and David Heyman, the epidemiologist, to update us of the situation. We will have the resilience panel, very interesting resilience panel, with interesting speakers like Edmund Bartlett, Minister of Jamaica. We will hear from Zambia. We will hear Kipara of WTTC, and we will have the mayor of Malaga that is going to bring us the experience and best practices Malaga, right? Afterwards, we're going to have the branding panel, interesting, because branding Africa as a single destination is very important, right? Because that's how we will hear again from Najib Balala, from Minister of Kenya, and Claire Akamanzi, CEO of Rwanda, right? And then we have other panelists like from Mauritius, we'll hear from China also, right? And we will have a panel also about capital raising, which is important. So we'll hear from experts from the capital raising, from the people with the money, and from Africa at the same time, from the City of Cape Town and Western Cape government, their views, and the Commonwealth, and an investor from UK to tell us about his investment in Africa. Afterwards, we will have investment opportunities. I have to say that we have 4 projects that are going to be presented, worth of over $3 billion, right? So we will hear from them, and then we will close for the day. So that's a little bit of program we are going to have today, Rajan.
Okay, that's a packed program, no doubt about it. I want to just quickly bring in now to join us Carol Weaving, who's the Managing Director of Reed Exhibitions in South Africa. Hello, Carol.
Yeah, hi, morning, Rajan. How are you?
I'm very Carol. Thank you. Very excited about today as well. Tell me, WTM is obviously a big player in kind of global travel conferences around the world, all the year round. What's the WTM's perspective at the moment about the year ahead and how we progress?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in the ideal world, we'd love to be in Cape Town now, enjoying Cape Town hospitality, and I don't think you're ever going to replace the face-to-face events. But what is really important right now is that we continue with the virtual series, which is exactly what we're doing, because it is reigniting tourism. And just yesterday alone, we had over 2,000 meetings that have taken place between buyer and seller. And we've been operating from 6 a.m. in the morning till 7 o'clock at night so that we can accommodate our friends from Americas, Australasia. And I think, it's really, really critical now that these conversations are happening, because it's about the future and where are we going. And if you look at some of the content sessions that we've had, we've talked about COVID recovery, of course. We've talked about diversity, LGBTQ+. We've had over 40 content sessions, and people need this information and they're very hungry for content. So we don't want to just wait for the next live event. We're here to offer 365 exposure. And I think opportunity to build those relationships that can turn into investment.
It's nonetheless, for me, it's something I'm holding on to, which is that Cape Town in September will happen, and then we will all meet and maybe even hug each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as Ibrahim mentioned, and Talib, we are going to have a live event in the city in Cape Town in September. That's really exciting. But at the end of the day, we really need to bring this content and this connections forward, because at the end of the day, we really want to look at future bookings. And we've got so many experts that are actually able to join us online. And I'm afraid virtual is going to be a thing of the future, and not to replace the live event ever. It's going to be a complementary thing. It's going to add value to whatever you're doing in the live space. So we too really appreciate our partnership with the City of Cape Town, with the IDC, with, of course, the International Tourism and Investment Conference. Ibrahim, thank you, and all of our partners. And I'm really excited that all these meetings are happening and people are genuinely doing business.
Great. You're right, actually, with Zoom, there's going to be no excuse for not being at a conference. You can't pretend that you're because you could be there virtually. Thank you, Carol. Okay, we have time is running short. Let's turn in a second to our first session, which is about the economic outlook, how to optimize investment opportunities in the tourism sector in Africa. And shortly, the Deputy Director General of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism of the Western Cape Government in South Africa, Rashid Tofi, will be speaking to you. So we'll be back in just a few seconds.
Thank you. Good day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kalo.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.